Hi everyone, my name is Maria and I am the Green Stitcher here on Flosstube and over on Instagram. Today, like I promised, I'm not going to give you a stitchy update. That's going to be at the end of the month. As part of sort of you getting to know me a bit better as a stitcher, I wanted to film a couple videos to do with the things I have historically finished or things that I have in my stash, possibly some of my stitched Christmas ornaments if you'd be interested. So obviously let's start from the beginning. If you're new here, welcome, and thank you for joining in. My name is Maria. I am a stitcher from Belarus who lives in the UK. I have been stitching for about 8.5 years now. And for those who are a returning viewer, thank you so much, welcome back, and thank you for spending your time with me today. So what I thought I would do for these videos is, this one is going to be a two-part. So instead of showing you everything I've done in the past, covering all 8.5 years, a lot of the things I've stitched were small or were gifted, and however much I loved them and enjoyed stitching them, I don't believe all of them are worth mentioning. So instead of making sort of a 4 or 5 hour long video just showing you everything I've done, I thought I would do two parts in which I will give you top 10 of my favorite stitched designs and then top 10 of my favorite FFOs, where the focus is more on the finishing, well, while still being on the design itself. So today we're going to talk about my favorite designs that I've ever stitched. Most of them are also finished FFO, I mean framed or finished, fully finished somehow otherwise. But I think I've got one that is not. I've also got one honorary mention. I couldn't get it to an even 10. And then one of the ones I'm showing you today, I don't have at home. It was a gift to a family member, so I'll be showing that as some inserted photos. So you're watching this one in April, and then the second part with my favorite FFOs, like I said, with focus on the finishing, will be in June, I think, because in April, the second video in April, and also May, I have different plans for my channel. So I hope you like it. I hope you enjoy seeing what I've done before, and it gives you a better idea of what kind of stitcher I am, what sort of designs I like and have done in the past. And if you have any questions, leave me a comment. I will be adding the name of the designer and the name of the design as a text sort of subtitle thing on the screen, just so if you didn't catch it in the video. Also, some of them I don't remember by heart, and some of them are Russian designers who I communicated with via sort of a different social media network, sort of like Facebook but our own, and you can't buy patterns from them there. So where I can, I've tried to find the alternative resources where you can buy these designers' patterns, so Etsy shops or their own websites or some other options. So I think we should get to it. Like I said, my 10 favorite designs ever stitched, and let's get started. Hi you guys, it's a message from Editing Maria and little Moira here. She's just relaxing and being cuddled and purring. I didn't realize everyone has a long queue of watch later videos and is probably behind on their floss tubes, and might not get a chance to view my March update until later in the month. So I've extended the giveaway time to the end of April. I will draw it when I'm filming the last video of the month, so the update for April, which will be the weekend of 27th to 28th of April. So if you want to participate, watch the video with March update till the end, comment under that video under March update with the code word, and I will close the draw in the morning of the 27th before I film, and I'll announce the winner of the giveaway in the April update video. And here's a little lady saying hi.
Moira. All right, bye.
You can imagine if you've stitched for 8.5 years, which I know is not a long time compared to some of other stitchers who've been stitching for 20 plus, 30 plus. Still, that's quite some time. And I do stitch quite a lot, even though I have a full-time job. So I believe that I've sort of acquired and have finished quite a few things in that time. It was hard. It was really hard to narrow it down to 10 favorite designs and 10 favorite FFOs. However, I think I've got them narrowed down now. I'm filming this in April of 2024. This might be not relevant in a couple of years when I will have stitched a few even more beautiful designs that I will love even more. But as of now, like I said, just so you know what I've done before, I wanted to show you these. So they are in no particular order. They are not chronological. I have stitched them, like I said, throughout the whole time. I have some very old ones, some very recent ones. I'm just looking at them here. Not all of them are framed. Like I said, some of them are finished FFO differently or not FFO'd at all, and I'll just read them to you as I go. I'll talk about the designs, why I chose them, why I love them so much, and yeah. I have a box here, like a moving size box. So this also gave me a great chance to go through my stash, go through my framed and FFO designs. We moved into this house a year ago, almost a year ago now, and we haven't finished renovations yet because we're doing it ourselves. And some of the designs are up on the wall, so I just sort of pulled them off for a bit. And some of them were still in boxes and wrapped in bubble wrap and all of that. So yeah, that gave me a great chance to reorganize, see what I want to pull out and put on the walls at the moment, what I want to put back in storage for now. So only a plus. Okay, without further ado, let's get to it. So design number one, that is one of my absolute favorites, is New Dawn by DMC. This was a kit. I bought it in Lithuania on one of my first trips to see my husband when we were still dating, and I think I stitched it about 7-8 years ago now, quite long ago. I think at the very beginning of me sort of coming back to stitching after I'd stitched, you know, at school and stuff. So I fell in love with the design from just first sight. I love owls. If I haven't said this before, and I probably don't stitch them enough to be honest with you, I love owls, and specifically barn owls. I even have a little figurine set on the shelf sort of behind where the camera is. So when I saw this design, I absolutely fell in love. Love poppies, love green, love the owl itself. I think the way it's designed is really gorgeous. I'll try and show you some up close as well. So I don't think I've swapped anything in this one, as it was one of my first sort of designs I've stitched coming back to cross stitching. I've just kept everything as it was in the kit. So like I said, it's a DMC kit. I am not sure if you can still buy it. I bought it, like I said, quite a while ago. So this one uses, I believe, 14 count ivory Aida, and I love that the sort of first plane is stitched in 2-ply, so it's thicker and sort of more prominent, and then all of the background is stitched in 1/1 because it's Aida, and the gate and the what's it called? The fence itself is stitched in 2, and so is the owl, so it really gives this sort of 3-dimensional view, which I just absolutely adore. I also quite like how I FFO'd it, so this is one of my first FFOs. Actually, I was quite lucky to, I remember being back in Belarus, and this was one of the only couple designs that I had framed back at home before I moved to UK, put it in my suitcase when I was moving, and it safely made it with me over to UK, and has been up in all of the places we've lived in UK ever since and made it to our own home. So yeah, so I was lucky to just go to sort of arts craft store and find a ready-made standard size frame and the flat mat, what is it called? Yeah, I think so, to go into the frame as well. So the frame itself is this lovely grassy green color, which I absolutely adore. Obviously it's green, and then I think the flat mat is sort of this metallic-y champagne color, which is not too shiny, and it sort of looks like subtle foil finish. I thought it looked really nice together, and I'm absolutely obsessed. One other thing you might have noticed is I made a tiny addition to the lock on the gate. So as one of the Office characters says, I'm not superstitious, I'm little stitious. But I don't know, it just felt wrong having a lock on the design without a key to it. I don't know if it makes sense to some of you. So yeah, I just found a key charm in my stash, and I think I've actually sort of painted it with some paint to match the colors in the design, and I just sewed it on top of the design itself. So absolutely adore this. It is currently up in our hallway upstairs and is sort of greeting us when you go up the stairs, which I absolutely love. The I forgot to mention, all of my framed FFOs have no glass, so I prefer to fully finish my designs without glass. It gives me a chance to literally go over and touch my stitches, which it might not be your thing, but I love that. And also doesn't give you any glare next to windows. Okay, my second favorite design ever stitched is was a pattern by I think she's a Ukrainian designer. Like I said, some of them I bought through a sort of Russian social network, which I can't link to. So I will be leaving links to any of these designers if I can, or at least giving you the name and sort of the website or the Etsy store name. So this design was, again, this is one of the old ones. I think if I started the companion to it, so Dumbledore and Phoenix that you saw in the March update video that I had FFO'd, I stitched that about 8 years ago as well. This one must have been sort of shortly after. So it's a companion piece to Dumbledore and Phoenix, and this one is Lupin. It was in my era of being obsessed with Harry Potter, which I no longer am, but I still absolutely love this design and love having it up on the walls. So it was, I think the design is based on the art by Piccolo, who is a comic book artist. I had a sort of tiny little look on Instagram the other day. So like I said, I stitched it a while back. And I had FFO'd it a couple years ago, I want to say, maybe last year, maybe 2022. So this is Lupin from Harry Potter, who is my favorite character, and I absolutely fell in love with the design first time I saw it. Again, greens, blues, and these sort of grayish purples just looked absolutely beautiful and called my name. I had stitched it on, I think this is 32 count Belfast in vintage grey, I want to say. I think so. It's just a standard Zweigart dye or print rather than dye, because the other side of it is not mottled. I love this fabric, would absolutely love to stitch on it again, and yeah, I think Lupin turned out absolutely gorgeous. I wanted the fabric to sort of go with the whole theme of full moon and the cloudy skies and all, and I think it worked really, really well. These designs have a lot of backstitch, and a lot of it is on sort of completely empty space, not sort of outlining the the characters or anything else, but I loved it. It was such a pleasure to stitch. It was absolutely wonderful to see the final result as well, and I used one of my favorite frames to fully finish it. It's a ready-made one as well that I just buy on eBay from a local seller, and they are these distressed, sort of shabby, driftwoody kind of designs. They come in a few different colors. I've used a few of them for different designs. I have these sort of driftwood white with that are framing some of my lighthouses that are hanging above our bed, because our bedroom is sort of sea themed. I have a few more that are charcoal gray, black, that have some Halloween pieces in them. I have a blue one as well, I think. So I love this series of frames, and I use them quite a lot. So one of my favorite designs, again, let me give you a sort of closer look. Hopefully you can see a bit more detail. Absolutely love. Would do it all over again if I had to, if, you know, if I should have made that video, yeah. Designs I stitched that if something happened to them, I would have definitely stitched them again. That would be on the list for sure. Okay, I will save the best for last. I think next one on my list is one of the biggest ones and one of my favorite FFOs as well, and I'll show it later. So instead, I'll show you one of my, I think, a different one is going to be on a favorite FFO list. One of my favorite Emma Congdon designs I've ever stitched, and I will show you what it looks like now. And it's the Between Two Pines by Emma Congdon from her Cross Stitch for the Earth book that came out a couple of years ago as well. This one was sort of in between two lists for me. I do love the way I FFO'd it. I also love the design itself. I had more FFOs that I loved more, the finishing of them, so I decided to put this one on this list. So I had stitched it completely following the instructions in the book, using all DMC threads and using the dark green 14 count Ada. And I sort of use these twigs I just got somewhere in a craft store to frame them and make a sort of window out of it. I want to say it's a window frame. I hope it works and makes sense. I'd probably use a little bit more twine in some places to do additional decoration. I might still do it, but I absolutely love this piece. It was a joy to stitch it. This was one of my April month of starts a few years ago. It was quite the quick finish, I remember as well. Yeah, love this absolutely. It lives in our hobby room here that is green and is forest themed and makes a lot of sense. I love how first of all, I love Emma Congdon's sayings and lettering. I think she's quite well known for using a lot of lettering in her designs. And what I love the most, besides the fact that it's green fabric and it's forest themed, is that she used the negative space, and most of the design is stitched around other things. So the main characters and some of the letters that you see are not stitched at all. So the pines in the background are not stitched, there's just the fabric showing. And then the deer and the rabbit, the bunny, and some of the mushrooms, none of those are stitched. There's all negative space, and you're just stitching around it. And by stitching around it, you're creating this gorgeous picture. If you haven't seen it before and you like sort of green forest themed designs, I highly recommend. It stitches up really quickly and looks absolutely fantastic. My next favorite design I've ever stitched is an Owl Forest, and I think it was my first one I've ever done. Have I only done one so far? I'm wondering. I think I might have only done one. So my husband has been asking me to stitch a Thistle design for him for a while. and I've been looking at different designers and different patterns, and when I saw the series from Owl Forest, I fell in love. So they have a 4-part series with symbols of the countries, national symbols of the countries that are part of the United Kingdom. This is King Thistle by Owl Forest Embroidery, and like I said, it's my first and I think only Owl Forest at the moment. I am just absolutely in love. I love the whole series, but I decided to stitch the Thistle first and then see how it goes. I have used the kit fabric, so this was a kit, like I said, I think I gifted it to myself for a birthday or a Christmas. It was, I used everything from the kit floss, kit fabric. This is 32 count Belfast linen in Silvery Moon, I believe. It's this grayish, purplish color, slightly off-white I would call it, and I love this shade a lot. I've stitched a few things on it before. So the design is using variegated threads, as you know, and also one golden color Kreinik. That was just a whole spool in the design. I think it was one of my first primitives as well, and at least of such size, and yeah, absolutely love it. It's got a lot of green again, and this dark green that I like, and I've used this dark green somewhere else later on, and I'll show you where as well. And I quite like how I FFO'd it as well. So if you FFO your own designs, you might know it's quite hard to find good quality and interesting colored frames. Most of them come in neutral colors, or they're just sort of flat and have no texture, no ridges to them. And I actually need to find where I got this from, because I need to order a few more in different colors. I found this shop online in UK who make custom size frames, and they had a lot of variety in the colored frames department, and I was absolutely pleased and excited to get this one and frame it. I think it perfectly matches some of the colors of turquoise and thistle, and it looks fantastic in our bedroom. Like I said, it's sea themed, so it's sort of grayish, bluish, beige. I absolutely love it. I am thinking about stitching the other 3 as well. I did say I am a serial stitcher. I haven't bought any of the kits or thread packs of the other 3, so we'll see about that. But for now, King Thistle is one of my favorite things I've ever stitched. Right, next design is the only one on the list today that I don't have at home. It was a gift, so I'll show you some pictures here. It was a kit from Riolis that I stitched for my sister-in-law and her husband for their wedding anniversary, and I had used everything from the kit. So this particular one actually uses woolen acrylic blend of threads, and I used the 14 count white Ada that was in the kit as well. It also had some beads that I sewed on top, that I added on top once the whole design was finished. So I stitched it in 2022, and it was my yearly project that I started in January. I split the number of stitches into 12 for each of the months of the year, and I stitched that amount every single month. And though I stopped stitching for a while that year, I had not put this one aside, and I finished it I think in December 2022 or maybe January 2023. I was maybe a little bit late. I loved stitching it, absolutely. First of all, I love these Riolis kits that use blend of wool and acrylic. I love working with those threads, and it's an absolute joy. And then I think the design is beautiful. I've wanted to stitch it for a very long time. However, I didn't really see it in our home, and neither of the main characters look like me and my husband, so I've just sort of kept it in the back of my mind, never bought the kit, and wasn't sure I would ever stitch it. And then my sister-in-law said her and her husband had their anniversary coming up, and they look very similar to the main characters actually, and I was really pleased. I asked before I worked on it and even started it if that was something they wanted me to gift them, if they would be happy with that. I have stitched them a small design before, and I know they have it displayed in their kitchen since, but it's a big deal. It's a big design. There's about 30, maybe 35,000 stitches in it. So working on such a big project for someone else and then gifting it, even if it's for a family member, can be a bit tricky sometimes. So I was glad to know that she would love that, and when I gifted it, they were really, really happy. They loved the way I framed it. They loved the design itself and how it turned out. And I loved working on it. It was an absolute blast, just absolute joy. I didn't end up adding any initials or anything, and I didn't add glass again either, because like I said, this one uses beads. So because I was FFOing it myself and I just ordered a custom size frame online, I ended up just not using glass and gifting it as it is. I think they have it up in their bedroom, and because they have some golden decor in there that matches the color of the frame. So yeah, this was one of my favorite designs. Absolutely loved working on it, and I'm so happy that it found its new home and the new owners love it so much. The next favorite design I've ever stitched is one of my favorite designers and one of my all-time favorite whips when I was stitching it. You will see everything just worked with it so well, I think. So it is Magical Christmas by Paradise Stitch, and I don't know if she has an Etsy store, but I think she has a store on inspireUplift.com. And I think she might have this one there as well. So this was just one of my favorite things I've ever stitched ever. Like, if I had to make a top 3 or top 5, I think it would be in there. So like I said, I am Little Stitches, and I had started it in January 2023. We were looking at some houses in January. We had tried to buy a house the year before and things didn't work out and fell through. So we were quite heartbroken about it. And when we started looking at houses again at the beginning of 2023, I thought I would sort of concentrate my energy and relieve some of the stress from all of the house hunting with some stitching that is related to the topic, and is sort of a way to just send some of my good thoughts and prayers to the cause. So I was hoping that when I had finished this, we would have got the good news. And apparently owls are, if you look at the symbolism of owls, they are meant to bring good news, and they're meant to support you in making good and sound purchases, especially big ones. So in my view, the owl would bring us good news that we had bought our own house, Hogwarts here. Yeah. And I actually finished it before we signed off on the house and before we moved in, and I loved stitching on it. I loved working on it. It was quite quick, so I started it in January last year, and I think I finished it maybe April, probably April last year as well. So I stitched on it continuously without putting it down. This one had, I want to say 16 to 18,000 stitches, about that size. So the reason I love it so much as well is I used hand-dyed fabric that I was gifted by my friends from Belarus before I moved to UK. And I believe this is 28 count casual linen, and they bought it from a local dyer in Belarus, and she did these sort of writings on it with ink, and I think it has text from Pride and Prejudice by I'm not sure if it does. It's hard to tell what it says, but you can see that there's some writing on it. I love the fabric. I thought it would perfectly work with this design. The only thing is that it was quite pink shaded, as if they'd dyed it with avocado pits, and I before I started my design I tested that it's that the color that they've already done is color fast, and it was, and I tea dyed it on top of it just to make it a little bit darker and more like a brown shade than pink. And then I stitched everything with the called for thread. So these are DMCs. I didn't add anything to it. And the only thing I've taken out is on top of all of the confetti of white in the sky, there was 400 or 450 or something white French knots, which I decided not to do. I didn't like the look of them. So I just frogged a few that I started and decided to be done with it. So absolutely one of my favorites. Love, 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 love. It's such a gorgeous design. And yeah, I seem to have created a seasonal owl series with different designers, and this is an autumn one, and the one with the key sitting on the fence is probably a summer one. So I guess I need a couple more. And yeah, I think this is a standard size frame. Oh, so what I've discovered is, and this designer likes this format of tall skinny pieces, and I love it as well. She uses, so if you stitch them on a particular count, and I think this is, like I said, 28, it fits a standard panoramic photo frame. So this is, I actually have a size here, this is 11 by 17 size frame that I got on eBay. Didn't have to get it custom made, and it's this purple, ink purple with a bit of shine again, like the flat mat on the Owl by DMC, and it just gives the most beautiful little shine in the light, and I think it looks gorgeous. As you can see, I frame my pieces to match the design, not my interior. All of the rooms in the house are different, different colors, different textures, and so I think matching the design makes the most sense to me. Next design is a recent finish. I believe I finished it in 2023 in autumn. I think in October or November. So this is an interesting one. I'll insert the picture of the kit first, the preview, because when you see it, it won't look almost anything like the preview. So it was meant to be stitched on, this is Mushroom Party by RTO, and it was meant to be stitched on 14 count red Aida with these grayish blue ferns, and the dark red, wine red little grass things in the background, and I've changed quite a lot on it. So in one of my eBay hauls, I've got a few pieces of colored 32 count Belfast linen, and when I saw this kit, and I got it off eBay or Facebook as well, I wanted to change a few things on it, and here is my finished one. So this was so much fun to do, and this was part of my do whatever I want whenever I want sort of things in stitching. So I didn't want to stitch in red, I want to stitch in green, so I changed the fabric, and I didn't want it to be as cartoony and quirky as it was, so I changed some of the colors as well. I used some of my stash over dyed threads to do that as well, and I just love it. And yeah, so this is, like I said, 32 count Belfast linen, just green. I'm not sure what the exact name of the color is. And then I've swapped, I'll tell you probably bit by bit. So the dark green threads on the back, that are that replace the wine red. These are the dark green Owl Forest threads that you saw on King Thistle. So whatever I had left over, I used to stitch these grass pieces. I've changed the shades of mushrooms. They were meant to be stitched with bright pink, and I'm not a big fan of pink color, so I've swapped them for a darker orangey red, 608 and 606, I believe. And then the ferns in the background were meant to be this greyish blue, and I swapped them for a, what is it called? Watercolor by Karen. The ones that are cotton, but they are the thickness of pearl threads. And I don't remember what the color is exactly, but it's a variegated bright and light green. And I just love the way it turned out. I think these were all of my changes. The front mushroom with the two little ones are stitched 3/2, and as you can see are quite thick. Again, you have this 3D sort of effect. The mushrooms in the back are stitched with 2/2, and then most of the back stitch was meant to be 2 plies as well, and I've changed to 1 to make it just thinner and more sort of light and airy. And I left the little guys on the mushroom, ladybugs, ladybirds, who are having the mushroom party, as they were, just 2/2 with the DMCs from the kit. I love this one too, and I know the frame might not match any colors on the design, but again, for me this was a forest piece. It's meant to be in this room as well. I just haven't found a place for it just yet, and I think it will look just perfect. I would have preferred a darker brown than this, but this one looks great as well. Next one is going to be one of the finishes that is not stitched on fabric, neither is it framed. So I have fallen in love with this designer ever since. This was my first one, and I absolutely loved working on it and stitching it. And this is Christmas Angel, or I think it's called Christmas Spirit of Christmas Angel. I'll add the name of the design here. So this design is by Brooke's Books. And here's an additional little piece that goes with it. And she is just beautiful and one of my favorite designs ever stitched. As you can tell, she's green, which is one of the reasons I chose her. So she is the Angel of Christmas. She's the Angel of Christmas stitching, or Spirit of Christmas stitching. And she's got additional little elements with hoops, with a Christmas tree, a sock, a basket with threads, a pair of scissors, golden ones. And she was also meant to have like a little elf creature as a separate piece next to her. It looked a bit creepy to me, so I decided not to stitch it. I think I've used almost everything as called for. So she stitched on 14 count brown perforated paper. The only thing is that I didn't want to stitch the wings on a different color paper, so everything is done on brown. The wings were stitched separately and added to the back. I'll show you the back in a second. I also didn't want to buy the ribbons by Kreinig just to do these sort of things, so I just took some thicker Kreinig colors that I had in my stash, like 16 and 32, and made these little ribbony sort of things here on the sides. And then this is my favorite tiny sampler with cardinal. Just look how cute, and it says peace on it. So it's backed with some felt, and she's backed with some felt as well, the wings with red and herself with green. And I had bought this stand somewhere on Etsy or eBay, I can't remember anymore. It was a lighter color, and I stained it dark brown with the same stainer I used for the boxes in my stash. And then I've added, if you can tell, oh actually let me just show you. I've added a magnet to the top of the stand and the magnet to her back. so that I can put her on display when the time comes, the season comes. And I just love her. There's green Krynic, green and gold in the skirt. I love that the bottom of the dress, or the inside part of the dress, whichever, has sort of patchworky design in it. The wings are beautiful and have golden beads. These are all Mill Hill beads, I believe. I loved working on her, and she has green eyes as well, same as me. So she's one of my favorites, absolutely. And she lives in a tiny little project bag when she's not out, just for safekeeping. And I take her out every Christmas or around December and have her on display. Except since I got the cats, they are trying to bite on parts of her, so I have to put her up high up on the shelves where they can't reach her. But she is such a beauty and such a joy to stitch. I have since stitched one more Brooke's Books girl. She is an autumn witch. She's a smaller size. So these spirit ones are bigger size and the witches are smaller. And then I'd also stitched the design on fabric that I'll probably show you as well. It should be an honorary mention. So there she is. And I have a few more angels or spirits, whatever they're called, in my stash. And I really want to stitch them as well. Just gorgeous. I'm in love. I'm absolutely in love. She is just phenomenal. Next one on my list is not FFO'd yet, but again, is one of my favorites ever stitched. This is my first stitched and finished Dimensions Gold collection kit. And this is Winter Morning. I also really like ducks and ducks in the pond, and this particular design just caught my eye a few years ago. I got it for myself as a birthday or Christmas gift, and it sat in my stash for a bit and sort of needed to marinate, as I say, or to brew a little. And then a few years later I decided to finally start it and loved working on it. It took me a while as well. So my current oldest whip is a Dimensions Gold kit as well. And that one I've been stitching for 4 years, well, over 4 years now. And I think this one took a while as well, but it's a smaller size one. So this one was stitched on everything from the kit, 14 count white Adam and dimensioned threads from the kit. The only thing I've changed, I hope you'll be able to see, so the horses and the ducks have this beautiful, gorgeous yellow outline from the sun that is actually what I fell in love with in this design. And so they were meant to be stitched with 2-ply back stitch, and it looked really choppy and weird and I didn't like it. And so I did coaching instead, and I used single ply of 12 size pearl cotton by DMC and also Anchor to match the colors that were meant to be there as close as possible. So absolutely love this design. I think it's gorgeous. The colors are amazing. The design is so cozy and beautiful. It reminds me of the route I used to take to my old job. I worked sort of in the middle of nowhere on an industrial estate, and to get there you'd have to drive through the fields for a good half an hour. And in the morning in winter, especially when the sun was low, the fields were covered in snow sometimes and a bit foggy as well, and it looked literally just like this. It was absolutely beautiful. I have been meaning to FFO it. It needs a good frame. It needs to be put up on the wall. I haven't got around to it, to be honest with you. I think it needs a custom size. I haven't got around to it yet. Sometimes, like I said to you in some previous videos, I like to FFO my designs. That's sort of the ultimate goal. But some of them take some time and stay in my role of finishes for me to sort of get that idea and get the perfect way to FFO them. So maybe this year, maybe some other time. Right, before we get to the biggest, best possibly one I've ever done, two honorary mentions, not one, two. So another Brooke's books that I actually stitched last year, I believe, in 2023, and absolutely loved working on it, is the Three Kings, or three, rather, crowns of the Three Kings. I mentioned in some of my videos that I am not a religious person, but I do love the theme of the Three Kings very much and can't stop stitching enough of it. So these come as 3 separate patterns on Brooke's books, either website or Etsy shop. I've put them together as I wanted a long piece that could be framed all together. The only thing I'm missing here is it uses some memory threads by DMC on her design, and I don't think you can buy those anymore. And I think there's a tutorial on how to do it with Cryonic and some metal wire. I have not had a chance to look at it properly. That's probably one of the reasons it's not FFO'd yet, is I'm not sure if I'm going to do that or just leave it as is. It uses a lot of Cryonics, and they are all really beautiful. I think I have stitched everything as called for. So this is 28 count Maran by Zweigart, and it's this purpley inky blue, which I really loved, and they're all stitched together. They will be in a long frame FFO'd together. I think I might actually use the same frame that you saw on the Kiss, and I have another design FFO'd in that I'll show you in the other video, in the 10 favorite FFOs. But yeah, love this one. One of the honorary mentions. And then honorary mention number 2 that I couldn't have done without, and has, oh, it was such love. It was such love at first sight. I stitched it straight away, bought it straight away as well, and absolute love story. So last year, just before we bought the house, we knew there was a lot of renovations that needed doing and a lot of cleaning up and stuff. So we knew what was sort of coming to us once we've signed and got the keys and all. We got away for a few days to northern Wales, sort of in the middle of nowhere in the fields, rented a little house for a couple of days, and we just wanted to unwind, no phones, no TVs, just relax, restart, and sort of get ready and rest enough for the upcoming move and renovations. One of my favorite cross-stitch stores was 30 minutes from that place. We decided to drop by, and when I came in, I saw that she had this lovely design finished and framed on the wall, and this is All Is Well by Shepherd's Bush. And this was my first Shepherd's Bush, and it started an absolute love story for me. I had bought the pattern with the buttons as well. I stitched it pretty much straight away, I think, before we moved. So we only had a couple of weeks in between that trip and the day we got the keys. I think I stitched it in those couple of weeks, like straight away. So I've used called for threads but DMCs. So this is one of the patterns where they give the key is in hand dyed, and there is a DMC conversion recommended by the designer, and then I used 32 count, oh actually no, this is 36 count Edinburgh by Zweigart. This is supposed to be vintage mocha, but I've stitched on the other side of it, and I tea-dyed it to have tiny sort of slight mottling. I felt that the original print was a bit too bright with the mottling. And then because it's 18 count and it's Shepherd's Bush, I stitched 1/2 and had an absolutely wonderful time stitching it. So the reason I bought it and stitched it straight away was I tried to find designs to commemorate some of our trips, and this one just was absolutely perfect. I bought it there on the trip, and we stayed in a little house in the fields next to the fields of sheep, with beautiful flowers and meadows and hills around us, and it just makes so much sense. It's just perfect, and the saying in it as well made all the sense. It's FFO'd in this dark grey blue frame. I think it looks great. I wanted to give it more sort of room and more air to breathe. I didn't get the chance to buy one of those really lovely intricate flat mats that Shepherd's Bush FFO'd theirs into, but I think this looks great as well, and I've actually found it a perfect spot in the kitchen this morning, and I think I'm going to go and hang it there after this video. I've moved aside a bit, you will see why. So last one, definitely not the least, number 10 in my top 10 favorite designs ever stitched, probably number 1 or 2 if I had to, like I said, make a top 3, top 5 list. Again, I was debating either to put it on the favorite design stitched or favorite FFO. Both are true, and yeah, but I think I put it on the favorite design. Again, it was one of those love stories when you try one pattern from a designer, fall in love, and start stitching a lot of their patterns, and it just sort of changes your view on the designer altogether. So the design I'm talking about is Holy Night, Oh Holy Night by Stoney Creek, and I'm gonna have to move away to show you the whole thing. So this is currently physically in like centimeters the largest design I've ever stitched, and like I said, this is Holy Night by Stoney Creek, and I am in awe of the design and the finishing of it as well. Tooting my own horn here. So I fell in love with this design years and years ago, about 10 years or about 8 years ago, I think, when I still lived in Belarus, and yeah, didn't even think of stitching such a beautiful large design. I had bought the fabric still back at home. This is 32 count witchet linen in seafoam, I believe, and I used all of the called for threads in DMC, not the anchor, because Stoney Creek give you 2 options, one in DMC, one in anchor, I believe, and I used the DMC one. I used all of the called for Krynic threads. Oh, actually no. So the design calls for Madeira's Glisten Gloss. I couldn't get hold of those then, and I used the Krynics that I had in stash. Let me show you a closer look. And then I used Mill Hill beads that were called for as well. And what else? I think this is it. It just uses DMC, some shiny threads and some beads. And then I wanted to frame it somehow special. So like I said, again, not a religious person, but somehow this theme, this whole thing with the 3 kings and this design in particular just fascinated me from the moment I saw it first time, and I decided to stitch it anyways. So I wanted to frame it somehow special. I had found this amazing frame on eBay, and this is an old vintage 50-60-year-old frame that someone was selling, and it wasn't cheap, but my parents helped me out and sort of paid for it as a gift for a birthday or a Christmas, I don't remember. And here it is. It's I won't show you the back because you can see that it's an old frame on the back, and you can probably see it's an old frame in the front as well, because some parts are chipped and missing, and I've tried to repair it where I could, but I love this and I love the way it turned out. It didn't come out this Christmas out of the boxes, unfortunately. I've only just unpacked it today, and it's probably going to be well packed and stored away until next year as well. But I can't wait to take it out and put it up on the wall. Alright, so that is my 10 most favorite designs I've ever stitched, plus 2 honorary mentions. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and maybe found some designs you've never seen before and you like them and you might want to stitch them as well. I thank you for your time, and you will see part 2 with the most favorite FFOs that I've ever done in June, and I'll probably film it straight away after this. So thank you so much for your time. Have lovely stitching, and I'll see you later. Bye.